If you're just joining us, a very good afternoon to you. You're watching Newsfeed, the weekend edition, with myself, Nhlanhla Sihume. Let's continue here. The Independent Electoral Commission of South Africa says it is working towards enabling online voter registration. The IEC appeared before Parliament's Home Affairs Committee to discuss its annual performance plan and budget for the 2021-22 financial year. Now, South Africans will vote in local government elections in October. The Commission says online voter registration would be a valuable tool in efforts to be compliant, or rather COVID-19 compliant. It adds that it had to scale down on training and incurred additional costs related to COVID-19 compliance, but this will not hamper their work. Joining me now is Mawethu Mosri, the Deputy Chief Electoral Officer. Dr. Mawethu, a pleasure to have you on the program this afternoon. Let's start here. With South Africans being able to vote online, just speak to us about this process, which has been earmarked as a valuable tool in efforts to be COVID-19 compliant.
Good afternoon, Nhlanhla. Good afternoon to your viewers. Indeed, the Commission appeared before the Portfolio Committee on our performance target and our work plans. And our focus was obviously the general election for this financial year. And we then presented a number of applications, which means in our suite of applications to make elections accessible to South African citizens, we then outlined the number of developments that we started 4 years ago and what we will definitely introduce before this election. However, the direct question from you on electronic voting, we're not there yet. There is, however, a planned pilot in future years where we are still awaiting an apportioning of funds to do that research and development work in terms of electronic voting. But certainly for this election, is applications to be registered as voters online. We started obviously 2 years ago when we had the issue of the address on the voters roll, and we needed to try and get accurate addresses to our voters roll for plus minus 20 million people. And we then brought a suite of applications to assist us with that. And we're extending that now, propelled obviously by the pandemic, to allow the first-time voters to register online, and in about 2 to 4 weeks, we should be able to give you details on how that will happen and on what platforms it will be accessible.
Now, Mr. Mosri, much as this will allow the necessary safeguards to ensure that those with smart devices and broadband can register without being in queues, will this tool not be too limiting for those in poorer or even rural areas who may not have access to smart devices or good internet connectivity?
Oh, certainly, Nhlanhla. We quite aware and conscious of the diversity of our country in both socio-economic grounds and political environment. And we are opening voting stations at some point now in June or July for everyone to go to their voting station and register there. And as part of our technologies, we did present yesterday a device that will assist with voter registration. And we did indicate that that device will also have connectivity. And currently we're looking at whether it's only a GSM connectivity for that device, or we will also consider satellite connectivity for the device, so that wherever it is in the country, it is linked to our mainframe, and whatever data it captures of a voter, it immediately transmits that to our national frame, so that we could give the voter an electronic confirmation that they've actually registered and they are on the voters roll. So we are bringing a suite of further technologies to assist with this.
I want to speak now about the timeframes. When exactly will this tool be ready for use, considering that we're just 5 months away from the local government elections?
Well, in terms of our plans, we're planning for June and July for the full operation of all the tools that we're bringing in relation to this election. We are obviously looking at the month of May, June, and July as the period where we are attracting new voters to register. We're focusing on young people, and we've got to reach them where they are. If it means on the palm of their hands, we will do so. And also at their institutions, we will visit them in partnership with the university principals, FETs, as well as in partnership with basic education, just to make it accessible and also assist us with the pandemic environment. So we are in that frame of activities relating to voter registration in preparation for October.
So you touched a bit on this next aspect a bit earlier in our conversation. I want to speak about the Electoral Commission's considerations on deciding what measures to put in place to ensure that all voting stations are COVID-19 compliant come voting day.
Well, Nhlanhla, we did introduce protocols for voting day as early as November last year when we had those 90 by-elections. And they've held good this far, and we further used them in our December by-elections. And then we just had another set of by-elections in April, and in a week or two, we'll have another set of by-elections to further test the protocols. In the main, the protocols promote social distancing, they promote sanitizing at voting station, wearing of masks, and also where we can encourage voters to bring their own pens so that we minimize exchange of items at voting stations. We're doing that to encourage voters. But over and above that, we've been in conversation with political parties to also, on the side of campaigns building up to voting day, to ensure that they adhere to the current country protocols around the pandemic. Obviously, the voting station is our main focus as the Commission, but we are quite alert to the campaigns of political parties also as possibilities where people will gather, and there is a possibility of those being super spreaders. So we are quite alert to that.
Right. Now, there are also other significant investments in technology for these upcoming elections. Let's begin with the introduction of this e-recruitment and e-learning for election officials. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, we have been working on these platforms and applications for a while as the Commission, and the driver obviously is the numbers that we deal with around an election. And secondly, to minimize the paperwork that we currently were collecting from every applicant. So we encourage everyone who wants to work at the voting station to go on our website and do an application on our e-recruitment. It then allows that we collect your ID and we link immediately your ID with the voting station where you are registered. And once we've linked to the voting station, then we can consider you for appointment. But before considering you for appointment, you then have to go through our e-training platform. And you have to receive a particular percentage to make it through as an electoral staff. If you don't make it, in the old days when I grew up in Nhlanhla, they say you failed, then we won't consider you for appointment. And post that, we will do other political transparency processes with our recruits, which includes a consultation with the party liaison structure of political parties in that locality. So those platforms are now ready and operational, and we've started to use them with our fixed-term contract employees that we've brought on board since April.
We also understand that there will also be a revamped website to enhance access to information for all stakeholders. Tell us a bit more about this.
Well, the website is already up and running, and we encourage citizens to visit. You get information on every function of the commission. From those who are business orientated, there is sufficient information. Those requiring past reports in terms of elections, your researchers, they have access to a lot of information, and it's at this stage very well packaged for all types of needs that there may be out there with our citizens. But also, more importantly, for an ordinary voter is that you can check whether you are registered, and you can also check in which voting station and what you are registered in. And in the event we do not have your address, you can then create your profile through our website and give us your address, and it will be online and available on the voters roll. So the website is up and running and very good at this stage.
Now, before we wrap up our conversation, another clarity question. There's also the prospect that all candidate nominations will be done electronically for these elections. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, Nhlanhla, it will be done electronically, but we do also leave the option for those who prefer to bring hard copy documents. We began with the online submission of candidates in the general elections 2014, and we improved in 2016, and 2019 was actually a breeze for most political parties. And for this election, we are encouraging all intending to participate and contest this election to do their submissions online, more so because of the pandemic as well. And it's convenient to submit your candidates online because you do it from your home or wherever where you have connectivity, and the political party or the independent concerned is able to connect and submit to us. So it's one of the applications that we are promoting in a big way for this particular election.
Well, Mr. Mosri, thank you very much for your time and that very insightful chat as well. That was Deputy Chief Electoral Officer at the IEC, Mawetu Mosri, telling us all we need to know about the upcoming local government elections and also speaking to us about online registration for this poll. Well,